الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد. As we continue this treatise entitled Fataawa al-Hamawiyyah al-Kubra by the great Imam Abu al-Abbas Taqiyuddin Ahmad ibn Abd al-Halim ibn Abd al-Salam ibn Taymiyyah al-Harrani al-Dimashqi, the one who died 728 after the Hijrah of our Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. The time now is 7:40. What is it, everyone? It's 7:48 p.m. Thursday, February 23rd, 2023. It agrees on the Hijri calendar, which is now the 3rd of Sha'ban, but technically is Friday night, later to Jumu'ah, the year 1444, after the migration of our Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. We were talking about the affairs connected with Sifatul Nuzul. You'll find that the great Imam Shaykh al-Islam brought the statements of the great Imam of the past from Andalus. And his name was everyone's name was Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Abi Zamani. The one that was from Andalus, where we know currently Andalus is Spain today, and he was from the ulama of Qurtuba. And like what Shaykh al-Islam had conveyed from that book, as we continue, you'll find that great scholar, you'll find that he mentioned concerning the aqidah of the Muslim, that he believes that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descends. You'll find that he conveyed the isnad, affirming that matter, that from the aqidah of a Muslim who is to die upon what is correct in his belief, meeting Allah in a sound state in regards to his creed, you'll find that he says that that was the position or the mawqif of the ulama that he met. That those asanid that he conveyed that traces back to the great a'imma, and from them was Imam Malik, rahimahullah. And from them was Sufyan al-Thawri, and from them was Abdullah ibn Mubarak. And we'll talk about Fudayl ibn Iyad and Isa. And Isa, you'll find that his name was Imam Isa ibn Yunus, not Imam al-Tirmidhi. As we know, Tirmidhi, his name was Isa Abu Isa. His name was Isa Abu Isa Tirmidhi. But that's not him. This is someone else. This is Isa, his name is Isa ibn Yunus al-Hamdani al-Kufi, Abu Amr. We call Abu Muhammad al-Sabi'i. السبيعي. You'll find that from the great A'imma, as we talked about, from those scholars, of those ulama of Jarh al-Ta'dil of the past, his name was Ali ibn al-Madini. Ali ibn al-Madini, the great Imam, very, very well known with the people of Hadith, and to the point, as we know, the statement of Imam al-Bukhari, saying concerning Ali ibn Madini, he said there was no one I was shy from, that I not thought that I was able to what? Convey my knowledge, and I was brave to convey it, except in front of Ali ibn Madini. Meaning I was very shy for that, due to the fact of his high status and his great knowledge that he possessed. This great scholar named Ali ibn Madini, rahimahullah, said about this individual, Isa ibn Yunus. He said, Bakhil bakh thiqatun ma'mun. That he was what? That he was trustworthy and he was reliable. You'll find that Ibn Abi Zamanin said about these great scholars, he said about them, Man adraktu min al-mashayikh, Malik, wa Sufyan al-Thawri, wa Fudayl ibn Iyad, wa Isa ibn Yunus. Al-Hamdani al-Kufi, Abu Amr. He said, وابن المبارك, يعني عبد الله ibn al-Mubarak, ووكيع الجراح الرؤاسي الكوفي, كانوا يقولون النزول حق. So, this great Imam Ibn Abi Zamani from the ulama al-Qurtuba, he said, who have reached from the Mashaykh, meaning from the true scholars of Islam, who are upon the correct path and the correct understanding. From them was an Imam Malik, and also Sufyan al-Thawri, and Fudayl ibn Iyad, and Isa ibn Yunus, and Abdullah ibn Mubarak, and Waki' ibn Jarrah al-Ru'asi al-Kufi, the great Imam from Kufa. All of them said, he said, they used to say, the descension of Allah is the truth. The descension of Allah every night, the third part of the night, as it comes in the authentic narration, is the truth. We said about the narration that was mentioned upon an Imam Malik. We talked about yesterday's class, وَأَخْبَرَنَا Wahb ibn Masarrah. We didn't say it was Wahb ibn Munabbih. This is someone else. His name was Wahb ibn Masarrah, Abu al-Hazm al-Tamimi al-Andalusi, al-Maliki, from the scholars of Andalus. His name was Wahb ibn Masarrah al-Andalusi, from Andalus, that he said, conveyed that isnad from the scholars of Andalus, from Spain currently today, even though it was called then Andalus. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala return it back to the Muslims. وأخبرنا وهب عن محمد بن وضاح, as we talked about Muhammad ibn Waddah, عن زهير ibn Abbad, that he mentioned this isnad, that all of these scholars said that the descension of Allah at the third part of the night is the truth, without any negation, without any distortion, without any likening it with the creation, nor any resemblance, or asking how it is, or what, or saying how it is. Not asking how it is, nor saying how it is. This in brief is what we said last class. So we want to mention, you'll find that they conveyed the statement upon the great Imam al-Malik. We know Imam Malik was considered from the A'imma of the Dunya fi asli tabi'i tabi'in. He was considered from the great scholars where Shaykh al-Islam and Taymiyyah said he was from the A'imma of the Dunya. From the A'imma of the Dunya in his time, in the time of who? Asli tabi'i tabi'in. In the time of those who followed the tabi'in. And the tabi'in, we knew, followed the Sahaba. So you have the Sahaba, then the tabi'in, then the tabi'in. And that was what you'll find that Imam Malik was from the A'imma, the great scholars of the dunya at that time. في عصر التابعين. Imam Malik, Imam of Al-Hijaz. Al-Hijaz is considered where, everyone? Hijaz is considered the area where Mecca and Medina and other than them, of what we know today, in Ta'if, that area in general is called Al-Hijaz. Why? Because we know the great Imam Malik ibn Anas al-Usbuhi, rahimahullah, was what? The scholar of Al-Medina at his time. Along with those who are around him from other scholars, from his aqran, meaning from his colleagues and his contemporaries, who are Ibn al-Majishun, rahimahullah, who was also from the scholars of Al-Medina at that time. As we mentioned in previous classes, Ibn al-Majishun, about a couple of months ago. We mentioned it said, Imam Malik, you'll find that the ulama of the past, meaning in the region of Andalus and Qurtuba, which is Spain, and that side of that region, meaning in Morocco, currently today, you'll find that the majority of them are upon the madhab of Imam Malik. The Imam Malik and his madhab had a heavy influence of those people in that particular time. You'll find that the great Imam Ibn Abi Zamani mentioned in his book Usul al-Sunnah, that he says or conveys the statement of all the great ulama who is known with the Muslims all over the world, meaning these scholars from Morocco at that particular time and Spain knew these ulama, Imam Malik, Sufyan Thawri, where Imam Malik was the Imam of Al-Hijaz, which is currently today Al-Madinah and Mecca. All of that is the area of Al-Hijaz. And you'll find that he mentioned the great Imam Sufyan al-Thawri, where at his time was the scholar of where everyone? Al-Iraq, of Iraq. In his time, he was considered from the A'imma of Iraq in his time. Notice that Ibn Abi Zamani, that he mentioned Fudayl ibn Iyad. Fudayl ibn Iyad is one I wanted to give a little bit of details concerning. Fudayl ibn Iyad was from the Kibar Mashaykh al-Sufiyya al-Mu'tadilin at his time. He was from the major scholars of Sufiyya. However, the type of Sufiyya, he was what they call a Sufiyya or Kibar Mashaykh al-Sufiyya al-Mu'tadilin. Al-Mu'tadilin. As Fudayl ibn Iyad has some tasawwuf. He did, rahimahullah. You'll find that Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah conveyed the statement of those who are considered Kibar Mashaykh al-Sufiyya Mu'tadil, meaning scholars of Sufiyya at that time is not like how Sufi is today. Sufiyya of today is filled with all types of atrocities and polytheism and shirk and worship of dead people to the end of it. Even though Sufi at the time still was affairs that had what it had in it of great errors, no doubt. However, in comparison of today, it's totally something different. During that particular time, you'll find from those who truly had knowledge from amongst them was those who had the knowledge of Kitab and Sunnah, and from them was Fudayl ibn Iyad. Even though he had some influence of tasawwuf. And like we said before, tasawwuf in that time is not like tasawwuf of today. It's something totally different. Even though, like we said, Sufiya in general is incorrect. But Shaykh al-Islam wanted to convey his statement to let those who are upon error, saying that these are people who are what? Had knowledge of the religion. And they are saying totally in contrast to what you believe, in order to use it as evidence against those who are upon errors. So he wanted to convey their statements and say, see, this is a scholar from those who are upon Sufiya, which you'll find that what? That believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's names and attributes is exactly how the people of the Sunnah believe. Even though Fudayl ibn Iyad wasn't from them who were what? Engrossed in Wathaniya or Sufiya or that type of grave mistakes that the people of Sufiya possess. Rather, he was known to having true knowledge of the Kitab and Sunnah. Even though he had those type of what? Affairs of Sufiya. But you'll find in a lot of his books that he rejected those affairs. From them, you'll find that he also explained Sahih Muslim, which is a book that is considered amongst Ahlul Sunnah from those beneficial shuruh, those beneficial explanations of Sahih Muslim by the great scholar Fudayl ibn Iyad rahimahullah. Shaykh al-Islam conveys his statement, saying that he believed that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descends. And he did not believe how the Sufiya believed. In order to utilize this scholar from their people against them. Meaning that these were from your scholars, you revered, and he truly had knowledge of Kitab and Sunnah, and he does not say this. A possessor of true knowledge, in order to refute those so-called Sufiya that are engrossed in Sufiya, extremists, misguided, people that are upon that path. بأن مشايخهم وعلماءهم الكبار الذين عندهم علم يوافقون أهل السنة والجماعة في إثبات هذه الصفات. Shaykh al-Islam used Fudayl ibn Iyad in order, like we said, to clarify that those who possess true knowledge of Kitab and Sunnah, that they agree with the people of truth in affirmation of Allah's attributes. So that's the reason why you'll find that Shaykh al-Islam conveyed the statement of Fudayl ibn Iyad. Is it clear, everyone? Well, the great Imam Abdullah ibn al-Mubarak was the Imam of the East and the West. Ibn al-Mubarak, until he was given this type of nickname, Ibn al-Mubarak. Of course we know Abdullah ibn Mubarak, rahimahullah, he was given the title of the Imam of the East and the West to show the high status of Abdullah ibn Mubarak, rahimahullah, which his reputation with the people of the Sunnah is known, of his high status and his sacrifice for the truth. Of not only did he have knowledge, but Abdullah ibn Mubarak, rahimahullah, was also known to have money and spend it in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Waqi' ibn Jarrah, as we know, also from the great Imam of the past, from Kufa, was also been established and known of him being from the people of Hadith and the people that truly conveyed the proper knowledge to the Muslims, which everyone, that those who study the Aqidah in Islam and take time to study it, know this great Imam and his reputation that is well known. The great Imam Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Abi Zamanin, rahimahullah, he goes on to say, and I'll read it quickly, this hadith clarifies that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above the throne. He said the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descends is another affirmation of another attribute. What is what, everyone? If Allah descends, what does that necessitate? That He's where? He's above. And that He's above what? The throne. However, there's a time where Allah descends, where the Messenger of Allah informed his ummah of that hadith that has reached the level of tawatur, as we mentioned last class. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descends in the third part of the night, every night. Which also brings us to the conclusion that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above, and He is above the throne, He's above the arsh. Ibn Abi Zamanin, he goes on to say, all of these hadith, even the descension of Allah, establishes that Allah is above the heavens and He's not in the earth. He's not mixed amongst the creation. وَهُوَ أَيْضًا يُبَيِّنُ فِي كِتَابِ اللَّهِ. He said also, there are verses in the book of Allah, فِي غَيْرِ hadith, and more than one hadith upon the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam. Verses such as, now listen to what Ibn Abi Zamani mentions. Listen to this. He says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يُدَبِّرُ الْأَمْرَ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ إِلَى الْأَرْضِ ثُمَّ يَعْرُجُ إِلَيْهِ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He exposes of the affair, those affairs that are from the heaven, that comes down from the heaven to the earth. The affairs of the creation, and that Allah exposes of those affairs, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala disposes of those affairs from the heavens to the earth. Then the affair, what is concluded, of course, and the actions of the servants, that they ascend to Him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also mentions in His book, do you feel secure of the one who's above the heavens? That He will cause the earth to swallow you up. And يَخْسِفَ بِكُمُ الْأَرْضِ, that He will not cause the earth to swallow you up. فَإِذَا هِيَ تَمُورُ. Also the other ayats, that the good word ascends to Him, and the what? Righteous actions raises Him. Also the ayat that Ibn Abi Zamani mentions, وَهُوَ الْقَاهِرُ فَوْقَ عِبَادِهِ. He is the dominant one above His servants. Also the ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in His book, and this is the statement of Ibn Abi Zamani, rahimahullah. إِذْ قَالَ اللَّهُ يَا عِيسَى بْنَ مَرْيَمَ إِذْ قَالَ اللَّهُ يَا عِيسَى إِنِّي مُتَوَفِّيكَ وَرَافِعُكَ إِلَيَّ. Hence when Allah said to Jesus, the son of Mary, hence I will take you at death, meaning the death of sleep, and I will raise you to me. Notice Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the book, in Surah Al-Imran, ayah number 55, that I, O Jesus, I will save you from you being crucified. Because we believe that Jesus, the son of Mary, was not crucified. Rather, a resemblance of someone else was put on another man, and they killed him. But Allah saved and foiled the plot of those who conspired to kill him. The point of the matter is in the ayah, everyone, that in Surah Al-Imran, ayah number 55, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I will raise you to me. What does that mean? Clearly, Allah is above. In addition to that, and as we know, as we mentioned the hadith, which comes in Bukhari, from the signs of the hour, that when the Dajjal is released, Nasallahu yu'idana wa iyyakum min sharrih, may Allah give us and you refuge from his evil, that Isa, when he descends, he will descend upon, or two angels will bring him down, and they will descend. Which also indicates what? That if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is everywhere, why does it says in the hadith that the two angels would descend with him at the time to fight in preparation for the Dajjal? A'adhanallahu wa iyyakum min sharrih. Those narrations all affirm what Ibn Abi Zamanin is saying. So it says here, so he's conveying all the statements of the belief of Ibn Abi Zamanin in his book Usul al-Sunnah. So you'll find that it says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in his book, O Jesus, I will cast upon you wafa, meaning death of sleep, which is the minor death. Because we know that, as we said, Jesus did not die. Did not die yet. He was saved in the plot of those who conspired against him, from Paul and other than them, that he was saved from the plot until he was never crucified. Rather, the crucifixion, like we said, had taken place where another man was put in the place of Isa, and he was what? And that man was put to death in the place of Jesus, the son of Mary. Right, so let's keep going. Ibn Abi Zamanin, he goes on to say about Jesus again, Surah An-Nisa, ayah number 158, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, بَلْ رَفَعَهُ اللَّهُ إِلَيْهِ. Rather, Allah raised Jesus to him. What does that mean? Clearly. بَلْ رَفَعَهُ اللَّهُ إِلَيْهِ. Rather, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raised him to him. Raised Jesus to him. If Allah was everywhere, why would Jesus be raised to him? If Allah was everywhere and in everything. Or if the creation was merged with Allah, and Allah was merged with the creation, حاشا وكلا وتعالى وتقدس عما وصفه به الظالمون. You'll find that these ayats and the likes, you'll find that Ibn Abi Zamanin conveyed here in Usul al-Sunnah, and Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah is conveying the statement of this great scholar from Maghrib. وذكر من طريق مالك قول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم للجارية. So he goes on to mention also from another chain from the great Imam Malik, the statement of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم to the female slave, or the female concubine, where the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم in that hadith, where we know was hadith Muawiyah ibn Hakam as-Sulami, hadith Muawiyah ibn Hakam as-Sulami. That hadith, in which you'll find that the concubine or the female slave asks, where is Allah? That she was smacked by her Mawla. And you'll find that her Mawla, the one who was in charge of her affairs, went to the Messenger of Allah regretfully of what he did, of smacking her. Until the Messenger of Allah tested her, where the Messenger of Allah asked the question. He himself asked her the question by saying, where is Allah? And she pointed and said, of course, it says either she said it in the heavens or pointed. The point of the matter is she affirmed it, that Allah was what? Above. In which the Messenger of Allah tested her. He asked, alayhi salatu wasalam, who am I? She said, Anta Rasulullah. قال فاعتقها فإنها مؤمنة. He said, free her or liberate her. Indeed, she is a believer. So you'll find that the great Imam Ibn Abi Zamanin rahimahullah believed the narration to be authentic. The hadith of the female slave, that you'll find that those who deny that Allah is above, they make war with this narration. A war that you will never see a war similar to it, because they know that this narration refutes what they're upon, that Allah is everywhere or Allah not being above at all. And these are the type of narrations that they try to say out of following their desires, that it's weak, or they try to say, no, that's not what was intended, or the narration is rejected, to the end of the nonsense that they try, utilize in order to deny that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above. Keeping in mind that those who have true knowledge of hadith know of the establishment or the affirmation of this narration that is authentic. And no one denies it except the one following their desires. Or within their aqidah, some type of deviation, meaning that they embark upon the path of those of today from the Asha'ira and the Maturidiyah, in which their beliefs go back to the Jahmiyyah and the Mu'tazila. طيب. Ibn Abi Zamani, he goes on to say, قال, and the narrations similar to this are very plentiful. He said, فَسُبْحَانَ مَنْ عِلْمُهُ بِمَا فِي السَّمَاءِ كَعِلْمِهِ بِمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ. He said, glory be to the one whose knowledge is everywhere. Knowledge is everywhere. Meaning his knowledge is what? Within the heavens, just as his knowledge is in the earth. None has the right to be worshipped, the most high and the most supreme, or the most great and supreme, subhanahu. قال قبل ذلك في الإيمان بصفات الله تعالى وأسمائه. قال واعلم بأن أهل علم بالله وبما جاءت به أنبياؤه ورسله يرون الجهل بما لم يخبر به تعالى عن نفسه علما. Then he goes on to say, he said before that, as far as an iman in regards to Allah's names and attributes, قال, he says, have knowledge that the people of knowledge, meaning the true knowledge about Allah, in which the prophets and his messengers had brought, that they see ignorance, يرون الجهل بما لم يخبر به تعالى عن نفسه علما. He says you'll find that they what? Ascribe them to themselves, meaning that they stop of what Allah did not inform of himself. They did not say it at all. They kept quiet. What Allah remained quiet of, they remained quiet of. They did not surpass what was of revelation. They stopped. وَالْعَجِزْ عَنْ مَا لَمْ يَدْعُ إِلَيْهِ إِيمَانًا. He says because of what the incapability of what their iman could call them to, meaning that they are not able to attain those affairs that Allah remained quiet about, which is what everyone, how Allah's natural attributes are. Because Allah informed us that He had those matters, but what did He not inform us of, everyone? How? That's it. So that's what He's speaking about. That's what the prophets and the messengers remained silent about, because Allah remained silent about it. And they did not surpass those matters. And this is what? The capability of their iman calling to the reality of the true kayfiyah of how Allah's names and attributes are. They realized they had total incapability of that matter. It says, وَأَنَّهُمْ إِنَّمَا يَنْتَهُونَ مِنْ وَصْفِهِ بِصِفَاتِهِ. He says that they will stop from the descriptions of Allah and His names and attributes, whereas, like we said, the affair stopped in His book or upon the tongue of the messenger, similar to what Ahl Sunnah does, the exact same thing. They do with those who are the most trustworthy of Allah's revelation, who are the prophets and messengers. And similar to that of those who came afterwards from the companions, who also did the exact same thing. That affair is binding upon us. وَقَدْ قَالَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى وَهُوَ أَصْدَقُ الْقَائِلِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He's the most truthful of those who speak, subhanahu. Everything is destroyed except His what? His face. He brings these ayat, Ibn Abi Zamani. He's bringing all the ayat to which we believe. As he goes on to say, for example, قُلْ أَيُّ شَيْءٍ أَكْبَرُ الشَّهَادَةِ قُلِ اللَّهُ شَهِيدٌ بَيْنِي وَبَيْنَكُمْ. Say which thing is the biggest, if you want to say, the biggest of shahada, the greatest and the most truthful of testimonies. Say it is Allah. He is the one that testifies and truly the one who knows between us and you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says, He warns you of Himself. So Allah has Allah has informed that He has a what? Nafsahu. يُحَذِّرُكُمُ اللَّهُ نَفْسَهُ. Allah warned you of Himself. You'll find that we what? Affirm for Allah what Allah has affirmed for Himself. فَإِذَا سَوَّيْتُهُ وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي. And He also says, فَإِنَّكَ بِأَعْيُنِنَا وَلِتُسْنَعَ عَلَىٰ عَيْنِي. And other than that, from the characteristics that He mentioned. And that's in the book Usul al-Sunnah by the great Imam Ibn Abi Zamani. So let's keep reading. So we almost finished. So he says, فَهُوَ تَبَارَكَ وَتَعَالَى نُورُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ كَمَا أَخْبَرَ عَنْ نَفْسِهِ وَلَهُ وَجْهٌ وَنَفْسٌ وغير ذلك مما وصف به نفسه ويسمع ويرى ويتكلم الأول ولا شيء قبله والآخر الباقي إلى غير نهاية ولا شيء بعده والظاهر العالي فوق كل شيء والباطن بطن علمه بخلقه فقال وهو بكل شيء عليم حي قيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم. Ibn Abi Zamani, he goes on to say, glory be to Allah, may He be blessed and high. The Most High is the light of the heavens and the earth. Nuru samawati wal ard. Just as He's informed about Himself. And that Allah has a face. Now listen what Ibn Abi Zamani says. وَلَهُ وَجْهٌ وَنَفْسٌ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has their wajh, He has a nafs, and other than that, from what He has ascribed Himself or described Himself with. He sees, He hears, and He speaks. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, excuse me, I'm sorry everyone. He hears and He sees and He speaks. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the first, meaning He has no beginning. Nothing is before Him. He is the one who will be the last and the remainder, meaning He has no ending. Allah is the Most High, nothing is above Him. Allah is the most near, meaning His knowledge is the most close with His creation. Nothing is more close to Him, meaning as far as in His ilm. And He is aware of everything or knowledgeable of everything. Hayyun Qayyum, the everlasting, the ever-living. Nothing overtakes Him of sleep or exhaustion, weariness, or what? Or anything of these type of imperfections that takes over the creation. وذكر أحاديث الصفات ثم قال فهذه صفات ربنا التي وصف بها نفسه في كتابه ووصفه بها نبيه وليس في شيء منها تحديد ولا تشبيه ولا تقدير. Ibn Abi Zamani, he goes on to say, then he mentioned the ahadith of the characteristics of Allah by saying, these are the characteristics of our Lord in which He's described Himself with in His book, and His Prophet also mentioned about Him. And nothing you'll find in it of tahdeed. What does tahdeed mean? Meaning al-bahth al-kayfiyah. Nothing you'll find in it of looking for how it is, or trying to attain the reality of how it is, nor liken it with the creation, nor resemblance, or trying to find its so-called measurement or whatever of how big it is or what have you. Those matters are all from the affairs in which none of the companions were upon, nor the prophets and the messengers. Now listen what he goes on to say. Ibn Abi Zamani. He says, لَمْ تَرَهُ الْعُيُونَ. The eyes of the human beings did not see Him. فَتَحُدَّهُ كَيْفَ هُوَ. None of the eyes have seen Him. In which you'll find that they try to say as a result of it, they know how He is. By what? By seeing Him. وَلَكِنْ رَأَتْهُ الْقُلُوبِ فِي حَقَائِقِ الْإِيمَانِ. However, the heart seen Him in the true realities of those who possess true Iman. What is he speaking about here, everyone? Number one, he's talking about reaching the level of ihsan, just as it comes in the hadith of Jibreel, where the Prophet ﷺ informed Angel Jibreel when he asked our Messenger ﷺ, what was it? When he asked the Messenger ﷺ, what is ihsan? He says, أن تعبد الله كأنك تراه فإن لم تكن تراه فإنه إيش يراك. As the Prophet ﷺ, when Angel Jibreel asked what is ihsan, the Messenger of Allah answered by saying that you worship Allah as if you see Him. And even though you do not see Him, He verily what? He sees you. Ibn Abi Zamani, everyone, you'll find that he mentions this statement. I want everyone to be attentive of this because I'm about to give a very important point. This statement here by Ibn Abi Zamani, where it says that the eyes did not see Allah, which is true. فَتَحُدَّهُ كَيْفَ هُوَ, whereas they'll be able to describe him how he is. This is true. Right? However, the heart seen him, meaning by those who truly possess sound faith, meaning the level of what? Those who reach the level of ihsan. Jayyid. So listen. This statement here is from an individual whose name was Muhammad al-Baqir. Muhammad al-Baqir. Muhammad al-Baqir. Al-Baqir meaning, or spell it, Alif Lam Ba Alif Qaf Ra. Al-Baqir. I want everyone to be familiar who he is. Why? Or if you know the saying, because once you say this is known. His name was Abu Ja'far. Abu Ja'far al-Baqir. Al-Baqir. Ba Alif Qaf. Ba Alif Qaf Ra. Baqir. Ba Alif Qaf Ra. Baqir. Abu Ja'far al-Baqir. We know that Abu Ja'far al-Baqir was a tabi'i. He was very virtuous, and he was from those who stood out from the great scholars of this ummah, as far as in knowledge, as far as application, and as far as in prominence, and those who are known, siyada. Everyone, and I want everyone to take this down, this note, he was from those who the Shia claim of him being from the 12 Imams. Is it clear? He was Ahad al-A'imma al-Ithna Ashar, from the so-called 12 great Imams who the Shia, Bal al-Rawafid, claim that they are from the heads of those who conducted this existence.
So he's from a tabi'i?
He was tabi'i, jalilun, kabirun, qadr. He was true. He was truly from those who are what? Virtuous, from the people of hadith. However, as we know, the Shia, those who have taken certain individuals, for example, another example of that is Abdul Qadir al-Jilani. Abdul Qadir al-Jilani was from Ahl Sunnah. However, the Sufis took his history and what? Warped it for their own purposes and to suit their own desires. But Abdul Qadir al-Jilani was from Ahl Salah, from people of piety and righteousness. However, the Sufis came and made a tariqah, Sufiya, entitled what? Jilani, as they say here in America, the Jilanis, the Sufis are upon the tariqah of Jilani. But they followed so-called Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, rahimahullah, who was from the people of the Sunnah, and the people of Salah, and people of uprightness and piety. Sufis came, twisted his history, and came with some mubalaghat, came with some exaggerations, rather not just exaggerations, but actual lies, to the point they said very strange things concerning him, such as, for example, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fell, and Abdul Qadir Jilani picked him up. All types of weird, strange affairs you'll find of those who are upon falsehood, where they come to people of piety, and they twist their history, saying that this individual actually followed their path, which is false. From them is Abu Ja'far al-Baqir, who's from the Tabi'een, and he was from Ahl Sunnah, and he was Kabir al-Qadr, someone that was very prominent amongst the people of the Sunnah. Those people from the Sufis or from the Rawafid came, twisted it, and made him from their so-called great 12 Imams, from the Ithna Ashar Imamiyyah, of those who could conduct in this existence, which is shirk and polytheism, not in just uluhiyyah, that's the rububiyyah, which is something greater. You'll find that the Shia that they claim, وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لِلرَّجُلِ, now listen, with Ahl Sunnah, that they exonerate Abu Ja'far al-Baqir, rahimahullah, where they say he was not upon their way. He was not upon the way of the Rawafid. And he was not upon their method. Nor did he profess of what had came to their minds, of their imaginary practices and their delusion or their delusional behavior. You'll find that those who comes with a great story in order to defend Abu Ja'far al-Baqir, you'll find that they say concerning him is the great Imam Ibn Kathir in his book entitled Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya. You'll find that he brings his history. حيث جاءه الأعرابي فسأله هل أرأيت الله حيث عبدته فقال ما كنت أعبد شيئا لم أرى. You'll find that there's a story, Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya, حيث there was an A'rabi that came and asked him, did you see your Lord whereas you worshipped him? He said, ما كنت أعبد شيئا لم أرى. قال وكيف رأيته? He said, then I did not worship something that I'd seen with my eyes. That I did not see with my eyes. So he said, if that's the case, then how did you see him then? He said, I did not see him with my eyes. بمشاهدة العيان. He said, however, I seen him with my what? With my heart, by the faith that I possess, meaning by reaching the level of ihsan, meaning not by my senses, nor by what the people think of who Allah is or how He looks. No, by worshiping Him as if I see Him. By worshiping Him as if I see Him, just as it comes in the hadith of Jibreel. Ma'ruf, and that also in addition to that, by looking at the signs around Him, meaning from the signs within the creation and from the signs that are around Him, from what is either from the signs of the earth or the signs of the heavens. So you'll find that Ibn Abi Zamanin, this is what he mentioned concerning Abu Ja'far as-Sadiq al-Baqir. In his history, like we said, if one has time to read more concerning who he is, then read it. In order to be from the defenders of the Sunnah, in case someone who's upon Rafd comes to you and tries to so-called confuse you. Because there's a lot of callers of shaitan out there that comes with all sorts of weird ideas and beliefs. And they'll try to razzle-dazzle you or bring some type of information that if you're not prepared for, you wouldn't know how to answer. And the best thing to do for a person that does not know is to walk away. If a person does not have the armor of knowledge to defend himself from this type of whisper or desires that these people calling the people to misguide them, then, like we said, the person will be in a dangerous state if he might meet one of these individuals and he does not know how to answer. So this is what we're mentioning saying concerning these type of great ai''mmah, how the people lie upon them. From them, you'll find the Rawafid, how they lie upon this great Imam of the past. You'll find that Ibn Abi Zamanin, we're about to stop. He says, وَكَلَامُ الْأَئِمَّةِ فِي هَذَا الْبَابِ أَطْوَلُ وَأَكْثَرُ مِنْ أَنْ تَسَعَ هَذِهِ الْفُتْيَةِ عَشْرَهُ وَكَذَلِكَ كَلَامُ النَّاقِلِينَ لِمَذْهَبِهِمْ. The kalam of these great ai''mmah in this matter we're discussing, meaning aqidah, he says is long and is plentiful. He says, men, that this affair or this futya, meaning these statements that I'm conveying in this short treatise in my book, a tenth of it wouldn't be enough just to bring all of their statements because they're plentiful. From all those scholars of the past that believe what I'm saying now. That's what he's saying, basically, in his book. He says, similar to those who conveyed their madhab. He said, مثل ما ذكره أبو سليمان الخطابي. He says, similar to that, what? The great Imam Abu Sulaiman al-Khattabi said in his treatise, or his book that is known. He wrote a book called Al-Ghunya an al-Kalam wa Ahlihi. He said, the adequacy or the affair, which is called Al-Ghunya. Al-Ghunya meaning something that basically you don't have any need of. Like I'm in total independency and free of the need of rhetoric and its people. That was the name of the book. Al-Ghunya an al-Kalam wa Ahlihi. The free or the free of need of rhetoric, meaning Greek philosophy, and its people. Meaning those who busy themselves with this type of way of thinking. by embracing Greek philosophy and logic, and the people what? Following it. And as a result of it, denying Allah's names and attributes and distorting them or rejecting them. What you find in his book, he mentions, it says, فَأَمَّا مَا سَأَلْتَ عَنْ مِنَ الصِّفَاتِ وَمَا جَاءَ مِنْهَا فِي الْكِتَابِ وَالسُّنَّةِ فَإِنَّ مَذْهَبَ السَّلَفِ إِثْبَاتُهَا وإجرارها على ظواهرها والنفي الكيفية والتشبيه عنها وقد نفاها قوم فأبطلوا ما أثبته الله. To the end of it. We'll stop here inshallah. He says, Ibn Abi Zamani, he continues to convey the statement of Abu Sulaiman al-Khattabi. We'll mention who he is next class inshallah. He says, as for what you ask me concerning Allah's attributes, and which comes in the book of Allah and the authentic Sunnah, that the way of the Salaf is the affirmation of these characteristics, and that you narrate it as it came upon its apparent meaning, and not mentioning or looking for or asking about its kayfiyah, nor liking it or resembling it rather to the creation, likening it or resembling it with the creation. He says, so there was a people that negated, and as a result of it, فَأَبْطَلُوا, they negated what Allah affirmed for Himself. وَحَقَّقَهَا قَوْمٌ مِنَ الْمُثْبِتِينَ فَخَرَجُوا فِي ذَلِكَ إِلَى ضَرْبٍ مِنَ التَّشْبِيهِ. So he's saying the type of extremes, because we know, brothers and sisters, that the devil, the shaitan, he is the one that comes to the heart of every children of Adam, and he looks to see what your inclination is, because we know certain people are inclined towards either being extreme or the people are inclined to be too lax. You'll find that he says there was a people that shaitan, of course, came, led them astray by making them fall into one extreme, which is called negation, where they negated what Allah affirmed for Himself, and they negated it or distorted it. Then he goes on to say, وحققها قوم من المثبتين فخرجوا في ذلك إلى الضرب من التشبيه والتكييف. Then you have the people on the opposite side of the extreme, where they affirm those attributes for Allah to the point where they left out that moderate affair until they fell on what they call a ضرب من التشبيه, where they had now fallen to what? Striking or affirming or attributing to Allah of some type of resemblance with the creation and saying how it is. So notice the affair was always what? On one opposite of the extreme, in which shaitan comes to the children of Adam and he wants them to be on one of those extremes. Because if you're on one side, you're misguided. And if you go to the other side, you're still misguided. And that is the plot and the plan of shaitan until the children of Adam leaves out this world. Always getting them to be on opposite side of each extreme. Never being moderate, never being in the middle, and in the manner of how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants the children of Adam to be. And at the most of those affairs is their belief. So he says, وَإِنَّمَا الْقَصْدُ فِي السُّلُوكِ الطَّرِيقَةِ الْمُسْتَقِيمَةِ. Now this is what he says. What is the right approach, and what is correct, is a suluk الطَّرِيقَةَ الْمُسْتَقِيمَةِ بين الأمرين ودين الله بين الغالي فيه والمقصر عنه. He said that what is intended, what's the ultimate goal, is that the people embark upon that straight path that is between both of those extremes, where the religion of Allah is between al-ghali, that is in the middle between those who went to the extreme on one side or went to the extreme in one, or the opposite where they were too lax in the other. والأصل في هذا أن الكلام في الصفات فرع عن الكلام في الذات يحتذى في ذلك حذوه ومثاله. He said that the qaida that we extract from this, with the principle, is that what we said concerning Allah's attributes is what, everyone? What did we say yesterday? We stopped the class. Is a branch of what? Speaking about His essence. They what? They emulate each other. He said, الكلام في الصفات فرع عن الكلام في الذات يحتذى فيه وَفِي ذَلِكَ حَذْوَهُ وَمِثَالُهُ. That's speaking about Allah's attributes. It's a branch of speaking about His what? About His essence. They emulate each other. What does that mean? We said last class, we'll end it off here. We said that asking how Allah descends, a person should say, how is Allah Himself? How is He Himself? You ask Him about His characteristics. How is He Himself? I don't know. So if you don't know, then you will not know the answer to His what? Characteristics. If you don't know His essence, there's for all the more reason that what? You do not know His what? Characteristics. So all these matters, and you can say the opposite. If you don't know His characteristics, then you can't understand His characteristics, then you do not know His what? His essence either. And like we talked about the characteristics of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from them of His sifat al-dhatiyah, is that He is the first, meaning He has no beginning. Nobody can even understand or begin to comprehend an essence or a deity of worship that has no beginning. It's way beyond the comprehension. If you can't understand that, how do you think you will understand His descension? Or that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His descension, or how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how His faces and hands, the two hands that befit Him, and other than those characteristics of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those matters, like we said, is what Ibn Abi Zamanin is mentioning here. He said, فَإِذَا كَانَ مَعْلُومًا أَنَّ إِثْبَاتَ الْبَارِي سُبْحَانَهُ إِنَّمَا هُوَ إِثْبَاتُ وُجُودٍ لَا إِثْبَاتْ كَيْفِيَّةٍ. If it is known that our iman, the affirmation of Allah al-Bari, rather you'll find it's an affirmation of His existence, meaning of those names and attributes, and it's not an iman of affirming how it is. فَكَذَلِكَ إِثْبَاتُ صِفَاتِهِ. Likewise, the affirmation of His characteristics is the same. We affirm it, that they exist, we believe in it, but we do affirm it is in a manner, or there is a way of how it is, but we do not know how it is. Nor do we what? Look for those affairs. And these stops here, inshallah. Is the question about the class? Anyone?
You said the name was Abu Sulaiman al-Khattabi.
Al-Khattabi. When I get time for the next class, we'll speak about who he is, inshallah. Abu Sulaiman al-Khattabi. We'll mention who he is in the next class, inshallah. We'll talk a little bit about his history, his biography. Anything else? All of these are statements from Ibn Abi Zamani. Two things that Shaykh al-Islam and Hamawiyyah. Hamawiyyah is like al-Aqidah al-Wasitiyah. However, Shaykh al-Islam brings more statements of the people, the scholars of the past, and from the contemporary scholars, even though Shaykh al-Islam in this book specifically kind of focus a little bit more on sifat khabariyah, the characteristics of Allah that was conveyed through revelation. But you'll find that what he's doing in this book, Wasitiyah, was summarized. Hamawiyyah, he brings more statements of the scholars in order to confirm or substantiate what he said. In Wasitiyah, he's bringing all the evidences from all the scholars. So if you want to say it's more of Wasitiyah with more what? Evidences and proofs. So now you notice that he brings evidences from Imam Abu Hanifa, from Ibn al-Majishun, from Abu Qasim, Abu Ubayd Qasim al-Sallam, all those great A'imma, Abdullah ibn Mubarak, Sufyan al-Thawri, brings their Aqidah of Ibn Abi Zamani, who's from the other side of the Muslim region, who used to dominate or rule those countries before in the past. He's bringing their statements from those who what they were upon. And this is what he's doing. He's just bringing more detail to let everyone know that what you believe of this Aqidah is nothing new. It's something that was established and known with the great scholars of the past who were considered the true scholars of our religion. That this matter was known, there was no differing in it, you're not believing something new, and those who come to try to take you away from this affair, don't listen to them. If they try to come with some confusion in order to think that you're crazy, or to think that you don't know what you're talking about, or you're just one of those so-called followers, or you're those so-called Salafis, or you're those so-called people of Hadith, they all always think y'all know everything. To the end of the nonsense they try to say in order to take you away from this affair that you're trying to remain firm upon, not only be firm upon, but die upon. All of those calls, Shaykh al-Islam is putting confirmation within the reader that what? This affair that you're upon is known. There's no ma'lum al-haq. It's the truth that's known. It's nothing that's different. And do not what? Abandon that affair. A blink of an eye. Stay firm upon it and ask Allah to make you die upon it. And that's basically what he's saying. And he's bringing his evidence to support it. And alhamdulillah, he allows at the same time for the Muslims to be acquainted with the great scholars of the past. To let you know who these scholars are and their names so you can be familiarized, so you can familiarize yourself with them. Know who they are. Because a lot of people hear these names, but they don't know. They go, who's that? I never heard of Ibn Abi Zamani. Ibn Abi Zamani was known. Even when I was in University of Medina. When I studied there, and Shaykh Abdullah Bukhari distributed some of his books. His book that he checked from Ibn Abi Zamani. He also has a tafsir. He has a lot of books. I have his tafsir too. There's a lot of books. So those who go overseas and try to study, they will find and gather knowledge in this matter to know that what you might think you know of certain scholars, there are way more out there than what you think. That are scholars of the Sunnah, and these were from them. For example, I'm sure that some of us know Abu Ubayd Qasim al-Salam. Some of us, but some people don't know. But he was a great alim, a great scholar of the people of Sunnah. Great alim, Abu Ubayd Qasim al-Salam, rahimahullah. Abu Ismail al-Harawi, and other than them. Even though certain things are what, but you'll find that in his time, he was called Shaykh al-Islam. When he possessed a great knowledge, the Shaykh al-Islam mentioned his statement here in his book. And under them from the great Imam of the past. Even though he conveys those scholars that we do know, such as Imam Ahmad, such as Sufyan al-Thawri, such as Abu Zur'a, and the two Aqidat al-Raziyayn, Abu Hatim al-Razi, and Abu Zur'a al-Razi, and also the great Imam from Ahl al-Sham, that you'll also, from the scholars of Egypt, from who everyone that we mentioned, who's from not only just Imam al-Shafi'i, but Imam Malik was from Medina. Who is he? Ahsant. The great Imam Layth ibn Sa'd al-Misri, from the great A'imma, from Egypt. And all of them from these type of scholars that you'll find he conveyed. No, Layth ibn Sa'd is from Egypt. No. Any other questions about the lesson, everyone?
Shaykh Asim Ibn Ali Usam. Where was he from?
Who is it again?
Shaykh Asim Ibn Ali Usam.
Asim?
Asim. Where was he from?
Asim. Nabil. I think it's in Nabil. The Asim? I have to go back. I'll check it and show him after the class.
Yeah, I mean to ask you that. I'm glad you asked that question.
طيب we'll stop here. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. The great Imam from Ahl al-Sham is al-Awza'i, Abdur Rahman ibn Amr al-Awza'i. And then, like you said, from Egypt was Layth ibn Sa'd. From the Iraq was Sufyan al-Thawri. Imam Malik was al-Medina.